rebels and troublemakers to stand out. Marginalized with voices making us so proud. For identity in the industry, we all shout. So many women empowered making their own.
Ooh, child, just sit back. We have a real life Hollywood whistleblower and Black woman who set this town on its fucking ear. For those where it's a little later, and if you were at home, I would advise you to put a little Baileys in your coffee and everybody sit back.
And one system try to charge her for speaking up. Left behind speeding up. Passing not even enough. Needed no introduction, but she got it.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Well, like everybody sit down. We're about to get uncensored, unfiltered, maybe a little bit unhinged, knowing Whitney. We are talking to Whitney Davis today.
So Whitney Davis, first of all, is a sister girl. But anyway, Whitney Davis, creative exec, unapologetic truth teller, and Hollywood producer with receipts. From covering national headlines at CBS News to shaking the entertainment industry by the collar with her variety op-ed, CBS has a white problem. Whitney doesn't just build stories, she builds movements. She developed projects with Emmy-winning directors, launched Dear Hollywood to hold gatekeepers accountable, and somewhere between all of that became a wife and a mom to twin boys and little girl. So yeah, she's got range. Let's get into the stories, the shade, and the strategy with none other than my girl, Whitney Davis.
Oh my goodness, what an intro. My gosh, I'm here for it. I'm humbled. God is good. This is let me tell y'all something. When Cheryl and Nicci call you and they say, "Can you come be on the podcast?" We say yes. It's always a yes for Cheryl. She's a real one, and I just thank God for always opening up doors. And I'm here to always share my testimony and share my journey because I feel like that's why I'm here. And I'm also not here to protect people because I don't want people to go through what I went through. That's why I went through it, so nobody else has to. So let's get into it.
Well, speaking of that, you started in hard news at CBS and ended up in scripted Hollywood. How did you make that leap without losing your mind?
Oh,
Because there's
wow.
more structure in news, right?
I mean, listen, I was like that girl growing up in Wichita, Kansas that loved watching TV, right? And loved to get lost between the pages of a good book and characters. And so for me to, you know, move to the city that I used to see watching my favorite movies, which was New York City, to be in a newsroom and a network newsroom at that, I was like, oh, you want me to go get coffee? You want me to run some scripts? You want people to yell at me? This is nothing. I thought it was like the most awesome opportunity. I felt like I was living out my own movie. And so, for one, I felt like, being 23, 24, being able to live in New York City, it felt like I was on top of the world. Now, I was poor, barely making it. Me and my best friend were scrounging pennies to, drink the cheapest vodka at the bar, doing day drinking, like all of that. But it was amazing. And then, so when the microaggressions and things like that started, and to have parents that told you to like keep your head down and do the work and cream rises to the top, it didn't feel like that big of a deal. And the transition from news to entertainment, that took years for me. So the journey through news and into news was like, okay, I love stories. I want to work in television, but like so many young people that have these dreams of being a storyteller, I didn't know that the jobs in entertainment existed. So here comes the first issue. They keep us out of these jobs, and the first way they do it is they don't tell us that they exist.
Absolutely. They tell us, in entertainment, you can be a rapper or an actor or a director, maybe, but not a grip, an electric, copywriter, etc.
I feel like this is a very important conversation to get into, right? Because I think this is where it starts. It starts with our babies, right? If we don't educate the babies that, like, okay, for my kids, right? They may not be their strongest at math, but I notice that they have this knack for imaginative play, or they like to build things, or they're great with like tearing shit up and putting it back. I got one of those kids that likes to tear shit up and put it back together, but not put it back together really great. But I can see some promise and potential in there. Or like, stories and this, that, and the other. So then I start to say, okay, you know what, son, you can do this, you can do that. These are the opportunities, right? If we can keep the kids out and not tell them that these opportunities exist. But right then, now I got you in college, right? So now I'm in college. I go to a predominantly white institution. I'm not going to tell you about the internship opportunities. So if I can keep you from the internship opportunities, then I can keep you out of that system. Okay, great. You have an internship. All right, you get the internship. Damn it, I got you in there. But guess what? You get the job. Guess what? Guess how much I made at my first job? My first job at CBS News, I was a page, entry level. Guess how much I got paid? Living in New York City.
Minimum wage.
$9 an hour. If I can only make sure that the people that can take these entry level jobs can't afford to actually work in the industry and don't have that support system that can actually back them up in their career, then I can keep a whole entire community or an entire group of socioeconomic, a whole caste system here set up. Like, this is the problem with the industry. The barrier of entry, it's unreal. So you already have that working against you, right? And now here comes the other intersections. All right, I've gone off on so many tangents here, guys. But what I'm trying to say is that you've got all of this working against you already. Now here comes a Black girl walking in the door with a dream. And I've got all of this already stacked up against me before I ever even walked in the door. Okay. Now let's start this career.
It's a valid, and even with internships, it's really difficult to to be able to get them and then to be able to survive during them. Like you have to, hey, I have a job that I don't get paid for.
Oh man. That's why I'm like, we have got to, man, that's why I respect the hell out of the work that Cheryl, Nicci, and I'm sure so many of, there's 27 of us on here. I'm sure everybody here is doing, whether you work in this industry or not, the fact that you showed up on this call and care, I'm sure we're all trying to take a sledgehammer to our places of business to bust down walls, to break the foundation, and to try to build up something different. Because it doesn't matter if we work in the entertainment industry or not, these systems they're cuckoo town. They're cuckoo town. And Lord.
Let's talk about this system, because CBS has a white problem.
Oh yes, they all do.
Op-ed for Variety, iconic, legendary.
Yeah.
Take us back to
that moment. Cross out that name and cross the name CBS out and put in any name that you want. I mean, let's talk about it.
That moment when you were writing it, when you were hitting send on it, was it rage? Was it catharsis? Was it fuck this shit, I'm out? A little bit of everything?
It was a little bit of everything, right? I think it was a lot of hurt.
Whitney, real quick, how did it come about?
Sure. So it came about after 14 years. And so I had a career in news, as you know. I transferred to a career, got out of the news career, became an executive in entertainment. Wanted to be, finally, I get this dream gig of being an executive in entertainment and to finally be a storyteller. And instead of my dream of being a storyteller, they're like, you're going to be an executive in diversity. And so, soul crushing. Okay. And I became a mother. And it was becoming a mom and the past 13 years of everything that I had been through at that job, and all of the trauma and the racism and the microaggressions and just the highs and the lows, because everything was not all bad. Like there were some amazing people and some incredible moments and highs, but there were some incredible lows too, right? And some really fucked up things. But it was my husband who in the moment of I had walked out, I had a breaking moment where I finally had that morning, and I think we've all had that like straw that broke the camel's back moment where we're like, I can't take this shit no more. I had my Angela Bassett. I'm about to throw the car. I'm about to burn the car up. I'm about to throw the computers. I'm about to crash out in here. And I was about to just tear the whole place up. I'm about to tear the club up. And I closed the office door. And at the time, I thought I was calling HR. I thought I was giving my best Angela Bassett on the phone. I was like, this is Marilyn. This is Meryl Streep. Like, this is performance. And I called HR and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I was crying on the phone, and HR was like, go home, go home. It's okay, just go home. Like, I crashed out on the phone and I walked out. And I knew when I got in my car, I was never going back to that place again. And I had I knew I was doing this that morning when I got there, because I had already called my homegirl who had been ran over by the corporate bus, and she already had a doctor. She had already told me who her psychiatrist was, who had been, helping her. And so I had already had my ducks in a row. And because I knew I needed some mental health care, because this place had really had me going a little cuckoo. And the letter came about because I had got an attorney, because I was also participating in, at the time, Leslie Moonves had been called out in the Time's Up in the Me Too era. And I had, she's since passed away. When I was an executive, I had a woman who used to be Leslie Moonves's assistant. And she told me one random morning, at least a couple years before the investigation, she told me that Leslie Moonves used to ask her to suck his penis every single day. And she came in my office, and I had her come into my office, and I had her shut the door. And I was her superior, even though she was an elder woman. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry this happened to you. I was like, do you feel comfortable with me sharing this? Because obviously you came to me for a reason. And so I did what I thought was the next responsible thing, which I told the two people that were my superiors. And I also participated in the investigation. And there were things that I had shared about my news career. I didn't realize, I was so young when I first started my career in news, but there was a guy who, I mean, there were several like inappropriate things, but one of these guys had said something like, oh yeah, my dad, like my dad told me that sex with a Black woman was like amazing. And I realized as I got older, I was like, oh, he was totally fishing to see if I wanted to screw him. There was a guy that used to put a British guy that used to put his hands in my hair and call me Witters. There were my first job in news, me and my and I wrote all of this. I don't care about talking about this because I wrote it in the Variety expose. Me and my colleague, her name was Deidre. I'm Whitney. We look nothing alike. And my colleagues used to call me Deidre. They will call her Whitney. And so instead of them getting our names straight, they used to call us Ouija. They just started calling us Ouija. Everybody called us Ouija. And when I became an executive, and I was an executive working in diversity for over 5.5 years, my boss, who was the senior vice president of diversity and inclusion, I was also an executive. I was her. She was, I don't know if they ever called her my name, but I was definitely her name. And the day that I quit, I was sitting in a conference room with the then head of CBS television, the then head of CBS casting, my then boss, and she's sitting there right next to me, and they called me her name in the meeting. This is right before I crashed out on the call. Right before I left that conference room and called HR. This is after working with these people for over 7 years. Okay, this is just a small fragment of the things that I was going through. This is not to mention sitting in the meetings where I'm constantly hearing why, people with disabilities, people of color, queer people are not good enough. I had a colleague that every time her boss would ask for, oh, I need this list, I need that list, they had you remember when, which president was it where they were looking for the binders of women? Do you remember that? Which election was that? I can't remember.
I think that was Trump's first election, right?
Oh, maybe 2000 Romney. Yes, Romney needed the binders of women. Thank you. Yes. There was a time where one of my favorite, okay, when I tell you this woman got thrown under the bus, like articles written about her, everything. Now I'm gonna tell you, she's one of those old school casting directors that was problematic in some of her ways and deeds and thoughts sometimes, but like to the core, a good, there are people like this, right? But she was not worthy of, like my best friend who I love dearly and who I'm working with right now. We always believe that some people are deserving of redemption. Okay, like everyone does not deserving of like being, what do we say, canceled. Now some motherfuckers just don't never, ever throw them underneath the bus, jail, don't, like what's the saying? Like, I'm not gonna pee on you if you was on fire, that kind of thing. But there are people that are deserving of redemption. But this woman used to always run down to my office so terrified with her binders of people with disabilities, binders of people of color, binders of this. And I would have to help her go through the list. And then we'd be scouring the web looking for talent with this. And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. That this was my career. I used to run and have to go down to the driveway and look for my TV guide to look at what I'm going to watch on TV. This is the storytelling career that I thought I was going to have. So sure, I hope that answers your question of why I had to write that letter. But really, it came down to, this is what it really came down to. If I would never want my children to work here, girl, why is it good enough for you?
What was the reaction in your inbox when that article dropped? And I know that Cheryl saw a lot more because you were a little bit
I'll tell
insulated
you one
from
thing.
social media, but What
I'll
happened
tell you.
on your end?
Oh, I'll tell you one thing. Crickets. I got zero
Really?
support.
Wow.
I had one executive that worked in diversity and inclusion in the whole industry. One diversity and inclusion executive. And all of Hollywood reached out to me.
Wow.
Can you tell us
One.
what it was?
I can tell you that they didn't work at CBS. I can tell you that the people that did work at CBS, once they found out that I was writing a letter, they were trying to tell me not to.
Oh, I bet they were.
I can tell you that much. There's a cost. There is a cost that comes with being a whistleblower. So I'm here to also say that. If you're thinking about shaking a tree, watch out for the coconuts. They're going to hit you.
But it's so true. But sometimes you just got to get hit with them coconuts.
You got to. You'll recover.
It's worth it. So the article drops. We had a Facebook group, Women of Color Unite, the JTC list, right? Whitney was in it because I was like, I need to get her information. And she was in it. And I tagged her and I'm like, I want to throw you a party.
I was like, what? What are you talking about? Party?
I wanted to throw you a party. And my friend Kelly Perrine lent me his house. But what Whitney didn't know was the fact that as I was tracking the article, it was reposted on the Washington Examiner, which is one of those alt-right sites. I started reading the comments. Whitney, you had no idea any of that was going on, did you?
No.
You didn't.
Had twins.
By the way, Cheryl is great with her Twitter, or used to be before she quit the toxic Twitter. But Cheryl was the Twitter queen. She would track every article and comments and make a list.
So Whitney, so we threw the party, but I realized, I contacted Whitney. I said, I want to throw you a party. I was so proud of her just as a Black woman. Like I knew Whitney around, we had been in some of the same rooms together, but I didn't know her like that, right? I have to know Whitney just as a Black woman. I was so incredibly proud of you that I was like, I'm throwing her a party. And as the party together, I noticed all of the threats. And so I got two of my male friends. And it wasn't until the end of the party, Whitney, that you were like, are these guys here for, because I was having them walk people to their cars. Guys, if you read, you can imagine, right? I think everybody here can imagine. They called her every name besides a child of God, plus all of the usual threats. And I was like, okay. So I had two male friends of mine who walked everybody to the car. And it wasn't until the end. And you're like, Cheryl, did you do this for safety? No clue.
I had no idea how serious it was until and I'm not saying that I I'm not saying that letter, it definitely was a snowball of people starting to get let go, right? Shortly thereafter, because it was a catalyst for some things.
Well, it always takes that one person, doesn't it? It's the one person who's like brave enough to take that first step. And then other people can be like, oh, we can say something now because it's already been said.
Yeah, I didn't really, honestly, that was not a part of why I did it. Like that to me was not a that was more of a like after effect, and I was kind of like, oh shit. For me, it really came down to two major things, right? It was um, really about my children and my family and legacy and um, taking a stand for. I always promised myself as a young girl, right? Like, and I have kind of a different background. I didn't go right to school, and I made some different decisions. Like I ran away from home right out of high school and got married, not to this husband, to a different husband, and kind of broke my parents' heart. And so by the time I got my life together and made something of my life, all of that felt very easy. Um, so the abuse, I came from a domestic violence relationship, right? Um, and then to like turn and go to a like a violent work experience, felt like something that I was like, okay, I kind of know this, right? Like, I know how to posture and deal with this a little bit. And so there were things that I was allowing myself to settle for. And um, the fight became different once it wasn't just about me and it was about my children. But then beyond that, I had to think about the next generation of me. I had to think about other people that I had to think about the women that have suffered in silence, that looked like me, that didn't say anything. And then I had to think about the people that are going to come behind me. And the people that did reach out, the people that did inbox me, right, were some of those Black women that said, thank you. I went through the same thing and I didn't have the courage to say anything. Those were the emails. I'm being facetious when I say, like, nobody reached out. I don't give a fuck. All of those people that are sitting up in those jobs, a lot of them, they don't mean nothing to me, right? In terms of, they mean something to me in terms of humanity, right? Like, I'm not saying it like that. Like, they do mean something to me as a Christian woman and a woman of faith. But what I'm talking about in terms of the work, like, you're only there to do, and the work has been valuable. I'm not going to belittle and say that the work of these departments has not made some gains, but the whole premise, if those departments were not made with an end game in mind, where like, all right, guys, we are going to have this program and the goal is this, and then once we reach this level of equity, we're done. And while we're doing that, we are also hiring some people in these departments that are going to greenlight these projects. And oh yeah, the C-suite and this, that, and the other. If that wasn't happening at the same time, this was all some bullshit to begin with. Let's not play. Let's not play around. So like, I'm not expecting anything from the cushy job people over here. What meant something to me were the people that felt empowered and that felt like now I had a voice. Now I have a voice. And that
Well,
made it worth it. And it makes it worth it. I will tell you one thing. It's worth it every time. Every job that I may or may not get because of speaking out. I never want to work in that environment ever again. If it means that for the rest of my creative life, I can only create and tell stories for myself, I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that.
I just want to say one last thing before Nicci moves on. There was something that I had always known. So for a lot of these DEI programs, you pretty much have to open up a vein, right? As Black people, we call it trauma essays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew from women in film that shared these stories like around, right? because it doesn't say that people aren't going to share your stories around the whole company. And I remember people tried to shout me down on Twitter at the time. And Whitney rolls on up, like she rolls. And she was like, no, they share them. And people were stunned. There were so many, and because the pushback came from a lot of the marginalized communities, like, no, they don't. And I think that when you said, oh, yes, they do, that people realize that even within these DEI programs, can you imagine people knowing some of your most hard, because you have to open up a vein, right? They want to pat themselves on the back. The people know about your life story, that they know these things, such intimate, personal things about you because they require it. And that these people who are supposed to be your colleagues now know this about you, right? I want to thank you, Whitney, before you move on, Nicci, because I was being shouted down. People could not believe that they would share, some intimate stories about you just among the staff, just for shits and giggles.
Which I don't understand, because every single competition show, like American Idol, etc., they make you trauma porn and then they show it to the entire nation. So why would they not think that that is what's happening when they write these stories?
I mean, you're literally, if you sit through, you're one of your first workshops usually in some of these places is like, they teach you, all right, you need your nugget, right? Like, what's the thing that's going to make you memorable about your personal story? Right? Like, you're taught to like share your trauma basically as your personal story to make you memorable in your like elevator pitch. So my thing is like, at the very least, come up with something funny and smart.
I like to tell people that I've been to 47 countries, speak 3 languages, and went to boarding school. It
There you
really
go.
fucks them up. They're like, what's your trauma? No, I was raised by a Black man in a dress. That's my trauma. Speaking of production, let's go to production.
Yes, the good stuff.
Let's go to the good stuff. But I'm going to ask you good stuff, weird stuff.
Weird stuff.
Wild is out. You were a VP at Anthony Hemingway Productions.
Yes.
What did that job look like day to day?
Oh my gosh. Bless. No, I love Anthony. You know what? I will tell you this. One thing, for those of us that are in between jobs, because I really never thought I would work again. And, I've had moments post strike. I had moments post strike where I felt that way too. As I like wrote down everything when I left CBS, I wrote down everything, not everything in details, but like the important things that I wanted in my next thing, in my next job, in my next journey professionally. And when I tell you Anthony Hemingway was that and more, and that job, it really lit my creative fuse. And he was also, and he is also such a wonderful creative soul. Like he just did, I don't know if you all have seen Forever on Netflix. He's the executive producer and director. I think he did 4 or 5 episodes. Just beautiful behind the camera and such a wonderful human. But day to day, I mean, I did everything from, go to him with, nuggets of an idea, like, let's do this. What about this? To bringing in development, selling my own shows with him attached as a director, to being co-EP on the shows that he was EP on, to shooting pilots, doing pilots with him, to developing original ideas with creators, pitches, dancing in the office, drinking on Thursdays.
What's
during COVID.
What when you're hearing a pitch, what's that moment where you're like, oh hell yeah?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I know within like, when like it doesn't happen often, but for me, I'm usually sucked in the first 3 minutes of a pitch. It's for me, it's a story. We're storytellers, so you got to hook me in with a story, and it's got to be surprising, unexpected. I like a hook. Whenever it feels like the creator has a really personal connection to the story that they're telling and a specific voice, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's always going to come down to the characters and the story that you're telling and the enthusiasm. Like, if you're not excited about your story, I'm not going to get excited about it either. Tell me a story, make it juicy. I want to dance. I'm going to bounce in my seat. Like, I'm a very passionate person and I want to dance. I want to get excited. I want to jump. I want to have a drink after. I want to clap my hands. Like, I still get very excited about the magical work we do. And it really irks me because I have worked so hard to be doing this work. Y'all have heard a little bit of my journey. Like, I have clawed, I have scraped, I have cried, I have been abused, only to be able to try to tell stories. Like, and so when I meet people that don't have the excitement, like, at least come with some excitement, even if the pitch ain't that good. Like, come on, give me a show. This is show business.
What is the wildest script note you've ever given on a script? And what is the wildest one that you've ever heard someone say? And can the character be less Black does not count? Because we know that that's shit that we hear all the time. So what's like the wildest, stupidest thing where you're just like, I can't relay that to somebody because it's stupid.
Oh my God. This is the dumbest. I was just thinking about this dumbest, stupidest damn note that we got on a damn effing show. And this still pissed me off to this damn day. All right. Did anybody watch the what was that damn show with what's the woman from Winslet? Kate Winslet. Is that the one from Titanic? The Mayor of Easttown. Y'all remember that? That was on HBO.
Yes.
So we were developing, I can't even remember what show we were pitching. And Anthony had, I won't say any of the executives, but Anthony, we were taking a show out and we had the woman smoking. And I think she was vaping. Yes. And y'all know development takes like, okay, even on a good year, you're not going to shoot it for at least a year and a half, 2 years. The executive was like, I really don't think she should be vaping because like it's too close to the character on Mayor of Easttown. Bitch. Like, I just dropped my phone. I'm still mad about it. It made me so angry. It's still making me really angry. I'm gonna throw something. And this was a studio note, guys. This was a note from the studio. It was a studio note.
I have one of those. We were working on this movie about Salvador Dali, and I got from the distribution company, can we cast Nicolas Cage instead of Antonio Banderas? And I was like, no. Why? This is about a Spanish painter, and Antonio Banderas is like Spanish. And they were like, but Nick Cage like sells better foreign.
Oh, hilarious. One time after a table read at CBS, the head of casting was like, he's like, my only thing is, what is a flea market? I mean, like, what's not the flea market, but like the you guys don't call it flea markets here, like the swap meet. What's a swap meet? I'm just like, oh God. Okay, goodbye. What's the
I've actually heard it.
You said the craziest note?
Yeah, craziest note.
Oh, someone said, how do you handle these? Okay, so you basically, if you're the writer, you'll say, I'll go back in and see if I can, massage some things around or I'm going to take a look, or let me take a look. Or you can say like, okay, that's,
That is the
I'm
bless
not
your
a,
heart industry smile, isn't it?
mhm, mhm. That one is just kind of like, that's just a pause. That vaping note was just like I probably gave a long blink. And it was on Zoom too. This was all during COVID. Um, Let me see. Did you say also the wildest note I ever gave?
Yeah, wildest note you ever gave.
Oh gosh. Okay, probably on a show that I sold to Onyx. Um, was maybe okay. All right, don't judge. I like things that are a little risque sometimes and a little like left. There's a scene on the beach opening up. This was called Don't Sleep on the Street. It's a workplace comedy without a workplace, unhoused community. Not at all poking fun of the unhoused community, but more so taking a look at the systemic issue of like homelessness and the like meaning of don't sleep on the streets, like don't sleep on people who live on the streets, because there you will find often more humanity than you find like amongst people who like live in houses and shit like this. But the opening scene of the pilot is actually the end of the pilot, and you the end of the episode was a big fire, and two of the characters who had kind of been like hooking up, they're having an intimate moment, let's just say. And uh, one of the characters is pleasuring, I'll keep it PG-13, the female character. And while he's down there, he's like, do you smell that? And she's like, so I had to give a note on that particular scene. And she's like, smell what? I'm not, and I had to make it a little bit more, because this is a comedy, a little bit more comedic. And he was actually smelling the fire burning, not her. So the notes on that particular scene were very funny. Now, I don't want y'all to think that this was not at all a show to make fun of homeless people. That's not my heart. This was really think
No,
of the
absolutely.
character. Think of the character as like Eddie Murphy, because the idea was for this character to eventually like get into politics, and like we have very big ideas for this character. Because who better to fix the issue of like homelessness than a person that has experienced, um, you know, living unhoused. So, anyways, that was the note. I really loved that show.
So, over the course of where you've worked and what you've done, do you now have a spidey sense for BS that you might not have
Um,
listened to before?
well, for sure. I think I've always had it, right? I think you always have to have it, even in
I mean, do you
those
listen to it
days.
now?
Yeah, yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I'm a mom, of course, every day, all day. Yeah, I definitely listen to it, and look, I've matured a lot, and there's just I think as we get older anyways, like there's just some things. I'm in my 40s now, so I'm just not putting up with the foolishness. And when it comes to work, look, God has God has shown me, and I'm so blessed that I'm now at a place where 20 years ago, being a college student in Kansas, went to Kansas State University. I met my best friend, had got into theater, and we were doing this amazing play that would go on to tour around the country. And we did a show and won an award at the Kennedy Center. And 20 years later, fast forward 20 years, we're now producing together, we're creating art together, we're supporting each other in our storytelling endeavors, and I'm doing some independent things. And this period of what has really felt like a drought because of the strikes, and because of the strikes, Anthony had his company went on hiatus. So technically I have not been what one would call gainfully employed, but it's been an incredibly creative season. So I
How
haven't
do
really
you?
had to go through too much BS because I've been just uh, sowing seeds and digging wells and kind of thriving creatively. I'm just praying that some money comes along
Well,
eventually.
speaking of being on hiatus, you have children, twins. How do you
And my
actually
baby
balance,
girl.
and your baby girl? Yes. How do you actually balance parenthood and producing? Because I can barely make sure that my dishes are done before I leave for work when I'm working on a show. So is balance just PR? Is it
Yeah, I
just
don't believe in it. No, I don't believe in it. I'm not a thank God, and I know some people do it, but I thank God that I have a husband and the kids have a wonderful father. And, you know, I carried them, I birthed them, and I love them equal, if not more. No, not more. But like we are a partnership in the rearing and loving and responsibility. And so when he has things that need to happen, I step in. When I have things that need to happen, he steps in. When I have a work that's going to require more from me, when I have a week that requires more focus, and I can't rip and run with the kids, it is what it is. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. One thing I am gonna do. I'm gonna cook because I love to cook, and that's my therapy as well. So, most nights I'm gonna be in that kitchen just because I love to cook, and I like
yet
to
we've
cook for
never
my
been
family.
invited to dinner?
Listen, don't listen. There ain't a lot of people that like to come to the valley. Y'all welcome to come out here to the valley.
Ooh, crossing the
See,
hill.
see, that's what I'm talking about. Don't nobody want to come out here to the valley. And I live in the West Valley. Yeah, you got real quiet, didn't you? Didn't you?
Whitney, I want to go back to when you dropped that article, and you must have known that there was a chance you would never work in this industry again, just because, and because that's what they tell us, right? But how did you go from I'm gonna blow this shit up to working for Anthony? Because you and I talked, and you didn't think that anybody was gonna hire you. How did you end up like that? That's huge in our industry to go from I'm a whistleblower to I'm a VP of development.
I mean, Holy Spirit, Jesus, for me, I'm a woman of faith. Real talk, all doors that are opened. And I think let's not forget the timing. Okay, because I'm always give credit where credit is due. Jesus. Also timing. Do we remember what was happening pre-COVID? Like right then, right after COVID? What happened?
Tons of work.
I'm gonna say two. I'm gonna
BLM.
say a name.
BLM.
George Floyd. Black Lives Matter. Y'all remember them black squares that were going up, and so people were getting deals. Now Anthony Hemingway is a outlier. Anthony already had deals. Anthony is, already, he already had Emmys, and he's been working for years and years. So I don't want to say that had anything to do with it, other than the fact that he had gone over to Disney and had a little bit more wiggle room to hire two people, because Anthony fell in love with me. And let me tell you how God has jokes. Anthony hired me and also my colleague from, drumroll please, CBS. My same colleague who went through the same executive training program that I went through at the same exact time, who ended up in development, drama development, when I ended up in diversity and inclusion.
Speaking of like being in DEI, how do you now walk into a room without like being the DEI whisperer, or do you just ignore it at this point?
How does any Black woman not walk into the room as a DEI whisperer?
Fair enough.
How does any woman of color? How does any disabled person? How does any queer? Come on, let's just start adding on some lists. Throw it out there. Any other? Let's just start adding on things like fill the tails on the donkey. Not, I'm just saying that, but we're not donkeys. But like, come on, if you hire people who come from various lived experiences and different backgrounds, and that's all humans, we gonna always come up in there bringing our history and our experiences and our many varied whatevers. Like, that's what we do.
But I mean, like,
as
how
soon
do
as
you
I walk in the room?
like when you walk in the room, do you notice
Nobody
that
knows
people
who I
are
am.
sometimes a little bit?
No, nobody knows me. I'm so behind. Listen, this is out. Listen, I was so happy that this was off camera. I'm a behind the camera chick. Like, people don't know who I am. That's why nobody would have, like, nobody knows. Listen, when I was 18, 19 years old, I used to boost clothes. I would walk right out of Kohl's. Nobody messes with me. I just walked out of Macy's. I just bought my kids some shirts at with my mom's, because I don't have any money. She bought them some shirts at Macy's for their birthday, and they forgot to take the little the sensors off of there. I walked right at them, and they didn't take them off, right? So I was taking them to one Macy's. The lady told me they didn't have the sensors to take off. So I got to go to another Macy's. So I'm walking out the Macy's. The thing starts buzzing. Nobody came. I'm telling you, nobody really messes with me. And I low key was hoping somebody tackled me to the ground, thinking I stole them so I could get some money. I'm like, come on, tackle me. Accuse me of stealing so I can get some money. I'm broke. That's funny, y'all. Come on, laugh. Come on, put them smiles up. That was funny. Now, you know that's pitiful. This is the cost of being a whistleblower. Did you watch that Jamie Foxx special? He's like, as long as I can keep laughing, and I can keep living.
The trauma has made us hilarious.
Hilarious. But no, I'm spiraling over here. I'm like a baby. I've got an hour limit. No, I'm having a lot of fun.
All right, well, let's go with some rapid fire questions then.
Yeah, rapid fire.
Industry buzzword that needs to go immediately.
Oh my God. Mandate. No, I don't know if that's even a word anymore. I don't know. You know what? I had to turn off all the trade alerts. I'm now just in my creative bubble. You know, somebody said gang. Oh, hey Cheryl. Wow. I know you throw me out one and I'll tell you if I hate it. Say something. Hated it.
Damn, I'm like quota, on the spot.
Nicci? I mean,
quota.
Oh,
quota bullshit. What? That's problematic. That is racist, microaggressive, hated. Like, quota. They still say that? Was that ever okay?
No, but it's this idea that somehow they do they say it? No, but we know when there are only two of us in the room, we know they have their own personal quota.
I'm like, damn, two.
Oh, look, there's two instead of one. We're above quota.
Like, godly. Terrible, you guys. I just don't want to
Okay.
be in any other rooms that look like that. I mean, and also, I'm not calling for an all black room, right? Like those are nice. Those are nice too. I just want to be with good people, man. Like I'm at a good people, good vibe. I want to feel safe. I'm calling for safety over everything. And as
Okay.
long as I feel safe in a room, it can be I would like some black and brown and all the things in there, but just safe and good vibes.
Okay, back to rapid fire. Producer red flag. Like, we're gonna find an audience later. What's your big producer red flag when somebody says to you something
Okay,
stupid?
producer red flag. A producer red flag is somebody that's not trying to like protect your creativity.
No. I mean, when what is you as a producer? What's a red flag?
Okay. When somebody is not being a little bit too push, a little pushy, and not nice. Not nice. Not working with people that are not nice.
Okay.
I know
One
that
show.
sounds weird, but I'm really big on nice people. No nasty.
No nasty. Next one. One show everyone loves, but you can't get into.
Oh, what have I been trying to watch that I cannot get into? Oh God, a whole bunch of things. Um, Squid Games.
Thank you.
I'm like, what's wrong with me? That violence just takes me right on out.
um, First big paycheck purchase that you are still proud of, or still think about today, or
Real
maybe
glasses,
live
real
in today.
glasses, glasses,
Glasses.
Gla- glasses that were not from Five Below
So like
or
drinking
the
glasses.
Dollar Tree. No, like that you wear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like they were,
Who would play you in a biopic, or who would you want to play you in a biopic?
Oh, oh my gosh, Della Reese.
Nice.
Make it a comedy. I just said the first person that came to mind.
That's awesome. Okay. Something people assume about you as a black woman in Hollywood that couldn't be more wrong.
That I actually like going to Hollywood things.
Okay. I
Cheryl.
hate leaving my house.
Same.
I'm laughing
Especially if
because
there's no parking.
I'm yeah, that no parking thing. I'm laughing because Whitney, I think a lot of people really don't know you. Like they have a sense from the article and so forth and so on. Just, and I put it in the chat, of just how gangster you really are.
Oh my God. Such a thug. I really have lived some life. I'm scrappy.
You're
Nice.
you're very scrappy. When I called Whitney recently had an event, and I texted her because who shall not be named. I had to make sure that she wasn't coming, and Whitney was like, "Hell, fucking no!" I was like, "Because if I see her, I'm gonna punch her in the face."
And
And
Nicci's going to pay bail.
yes, we all know Nicci is going to pay bail. She's going to put it on that Amex card, so we can get the points to fly. Anyway, and Whitney, I call up Whitney, and she's like, "Girl, I want my lick." And Nicci Freeman goes,
Oh yeah, I'm happy jumping in.
And I said, so bail for two.
Yeah, I'm jumping
And
in.
then Whitney's partner at her company said, we better make that bail for three.
Listen, I believe in fighting the righteous fight. I'm all for it.
I do think that being, and because I always
Oh,
say,
someone did ask a question about something with the youth. I don't want to ignore questions with my shenanigans.
oh no, we're going to get to the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we have it timed out. You know us.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say, I love the Thug and Whitney. Whitney is
Thank
somebody
you.
who will jump in to a fight and tug some hair, get her lick back. Yeah, because there's something about being in Hollywood that to be able to survive. I think all the Black people are a little thuggish because we got to be to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you, Whitney.
Yeah.
A personal question, because Cheryl yells at me constantly, but how do you maintain that face, that like, oh, bless your heart face, while internally behind your eyes, you're like raging? Because I get yelled at by Cheryl constantly on industry Zooms because the eyebrow starts to go. And like, I have subtitles going across my face that everybody can read. But how do you do it? Because I've seen you just have this calm, serene look on your face when I know you want to punch somebody.
I have a best friend. Her name is Indica. And yes, I smoke weed and I do Jesus. Not in that order. And you know, all jokes aside, um, I really have to give credit where credit is due. Again, like I um unless unless it is a battle really, really worth me fighting in that moment, I try not to let somebody really mess up my day. And if I have to, I'm gonna really try when I do have to say something to you to keep it as cool as I can. And if you have to get me out of character, if you get me out of character, it's gonna be a problem for you, not me. But um the hardest thing, the only time I ever, 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 and I can't believe this. I cannot believe this happened. A major, and Cheryl, I don't even know if I've told you this, but about 2 years ago at a major film studio, we were going out and meeting for a big title, big feature title that historically had an N word in the title. And the head of the big major studio said the N word in the meeting. And I was so shocked that the N word was said in the meeting that I had to call the other Black woman that worked at the major studio. And I was like, yo, I just need to confirm that this happened. Did this happen? And it was told to me this did happen. I can't believe this happened either. There was a whole thing about how this was not okay to happen. But what was told to me was that an organization told this person that if we're going to do this, we're going to use the title when speaking of this thing. So this person felt empowered to say it, but didn't warn the room, didn't warn the Black director and the Black woman. And I called the agency that reps the major agency that reps my then boss, and also the management company, and also had a very kind of um I wouldn't say contentious, it was a little tense conversation with my boss. And I think from his perspective, some people don't want you to like get this thing going, right? But I had to say, listen, I would not be who I am and stand for what I stand for if I just pretended and was okay with this. And I'm a little bothered that you are okay with this. And I jokingly sometimes say to my husband, I'm like, damn, I'm broke right now. I don't even have to be this broke. Like I'm not gonna sue, like whatever. But this stuff is still going on, y'all. This stuff is still going on. And um I think about the sister often that's working there. Cause I'm like, if you're okay with doing this in front of another Black woman and Black man that don't live here, and you're telling people that this organization said I can say, and he said hard R, by the way. We're talking hard R.
After
Sick
this
to
is
my
done, I'm
stomach.
gonna need names. I don't Whitney, woo, child. You just set my brain on fire. You know me, girl. I'm gonna need names. Yeah, I'm gonna need names.
I'm already, girl. This so many years. This thing is going on still, is what I'm saying.
It's amazing because, like, yes, we know that like there were blaxploitation films in the 70s that had the N word with the hard R in their titles, but at some point, like in the last 2 decades, have people not learned?
And here's the thing: we now live in a place where I really don't think that these bad actors feel empowered, right? So I think that the strategy, we gotta have a difference. What's our new strategy? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like,
Also, but how do we get actors, directors, writers, whoever to stop using it where it desensitizes people from the work? For example, like Quentin Tarantino and Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I get that did it really serve the story that he
how do we
said
get our
the N word
children?
147 times in the movie? Like, did it need, like, at what point did it serve the story? The same as there's a lot of scenes with like women that are nude. At what
Yeah.
point does it serve the story? I get it if it's like a love scene or something, but just having her walk by naked for what? It's not serving the story.
Yeah. I mean, even these kids at school, like even my kids' principal, we're talking elementary school, like even the teacher, the principal's like they trying to explain to the kids why it's not okay to use it. So like it's a systemic
I mean, even when
and
we're telling like ancestral stories, can we just not use it?
Here's what I think, and I'm specifically going to bring up Quentin Tarantino since we mentioned him. This is the same man who let Harvey Weinstein abuse his girlfriend Mira Sorvino. And what I want to say, if they're doing it to us, they're doing it to you, right? In that empowerment, and Mira Sorvino has talked about it. I was at the Times Up event where she specifically talked about it, right? So these people that who you may think that you were insulated as a white woman or as even a white man who isn't necessarily on the same socioeconomic level, you are not, right? And I think that that's the point. When we talk about Quentin Tarantino's use of the N-word, but we didn't expect him to let Harvey Weinstein get away with what he got away with Mira Sorvino, and he was supposedly in love with that woman. Like, yeah, that's the thing to think about, is the fact of if they're doing it to Black people or a Black woman, they'll eventually get around to you.
it's I don't even know, man.
But then how do we like convince and this is a whole, I'm going to go into a whole massage noir thing, but how do we convince Black actors not to allow it to be said on set? Like, I know I saw the interview with DiCaprio where he was like, every time I had to say it, I was super uncomfortable. I had to check in with Sam and Carrie and whoever. But like, how do we get our colleagues to say it's not serving the story? Can we do something different? And especially when you're somebody like a Sam Jackson or a Kerry Washington, where you have a career, you have money, you have like power to an extent, especially someone like a Sam Jackson. How do we get them to step up? Jamie Foxx, yeah.
I don't know, because I'm like, I don't even know how we can get some of these same people that you named to like step up and call out some other systems of oppression that seem very easy to also call out, or to come over here and support this instead of that when you are not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it
Yeah.
seems like people are about the bag over everything else in this season. And for better or worse, and I think a lot of times worse, when I think about our community, and by our community, I mean us versus them, right? Like these new devils with old plans, they really were playing the long game here. I've been watching a lot of like these documentaries, like post Reconstruction, and like they really, really picked up where the carpetbaggers left off. And this was a long game plan they had. And I wish in some ways we were not so concerned about securing the individual bag as we were about like preserving the community and taking care of our own, and curating our art and protecting our art and keeping our own stories, and building up our own systems. Because where do we where are all the places for our art to live now, right, that are outside of this system?
I'm really curious, like, as you say that, because our stories are always, a lot of our stories are always based on trauma. And I'm not saying that a lot of other people's stories are not based on trauma, but ours seem to always paint the worst light of us, even sometimes when we're telling them.
But we're
Whereas,
not in
like,
control of them.
but
Right.
sometimes, like, when you see, like, for example, Jewish Holocaust stories, they paint the trauma without painting the worst light of the people that have been traumatized. Whereas that is not something that we are afforded.
And
Who
that
holds
is
the purse strings?
right. And that has to do with what a sociologist, because I've had these discussions. And I really wish that when we talk about what's happening in this country, there are people who wanted to play the long game when it came to the civil rights, right? All of the DEI tenets are based on pretty much Black radical feminists from the 1930s on. And they laid out the playbook. People just didn't pay attention because they were Black women who were saying it, right? Who told us what the long game was. And one of the most important parts of that long game was never letting them divide you from the rest of your people. Right? Socioeconomically, don't let them get in between you loving all of your people. And that's what capitalism did. That's why capitalism and racism go hand in hand. But the sociologist said, specifically here in the United States, the reason they tell those stories is because white people think that they own our trauma. Our joy is in spite of them. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Whitney. You're talking about the fact that these are the people who hold the purse strings. And because they hold the purse strings, there are very specific stories that they want to tell because they think, to a very large extent, they own our trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing is to continue doing what we do, which is having these spaces where we can talk.
Absolutely.
I'm not having this conversation on Clubhouse. I'm not having this conversation on Twitter. I'm having this specific conversation, what we talking about on the Black man owned app, right?
Okay.
Right? Those are the types of things that we do. We build community. We bring over, if I'm like, hey girl, I got a space where you can talk about your stuff, where we can have these conversations, where there will be support. My friends believe me, right? Because I'm not going to bring them someplace that's going to be harmful. And I think it's about what you said, Whitney, having safe spaces, spaces where we feel safe, and we just keep building them. And
Absolutely.
Of which, before we get into the questions, I think this is a great way to lead into what are you have Dear Hollywood, but you also have partnered with your best friend, who I love. When she was like, when I walked into your event and she was like, oh yeah, that girl you were talking about, I want my lick. I was like, Sookie, here we are. Tell me about the projects, what you were doing now.
Oh my goodness, so much. I'm like, I've been literally in a really creative season. As you know, Cheryl, and Nicci, I almost died in a car accident last April. I got hit by 2 cars, and thank God I flew off my bike about 15 feet and like flew through the air. And it was kind of like, it was wild, and it just felt like God was like really just telling me, like, girl, I got you. Like, I got you, boo. Go do it. And I kind of like use that as this like you know what, no fear, God's got me, like just do it. And I realized that I've kind of been running from telling my own stories. And I've been, you know, very much supporting other storytellers, and I still will continue to do that. But, you know, God has been for the past, you know, some of the stories that are in my brain I've had for, I mean, gosh, you know how it is, like 10 years, some of them. So I finally been writing. I'm just now putting together my whole little portfolio from my writing class. I'm directing my first documentary feature this summer. Um, Dear Hollywood, which is the event series that you came to, which is like shining a light on just like the issues that are happening, you know, off the screen, translating on screen, that um you know, we're hoping to like just take out to like the country and do some international stops as well. I'm just put my first feature in contract that I'm getting ready to shop, which I'm excited about. I just got a the final kind of I did a couple rounds of notes on that, so I'm getting ready to send it to macro today. Hopefully I'm really confident, like I feel like I'm gonna sell it. I'm like just digging wells and the water's coming. I'm like, yes, because it's called Melanie from HR. It's a workplace thriller. It got a little thin line between love and hate. Like I love um just like different stories, you know, like I just want to see like Black female characters that we don't usually get to see, like bad girls that do bad things for good reasons, you know, like I want to see somebody crash out but for a good reason, kind of like myself. And got some like animated things that I'm cooking up. Me and Anthony are going to be pitching Netflix soon with Courtney B. Vance and Angela Bassett. Something that's been in the works for a couple years. I got a lot of stuff. I'm momming, I'm a wife, I got my own projects. I'm also, through Cheryl, one of my mentees from Start with 8. I don't know if I told you this, Cheryl. I'm writing a feature with one of my mentees. from the first Start with 8, who's also my Delta sister, Miriam Day.
I remember, Miriam, I just want to say, Whitney, in our program, hashtag Start with 8, where we asked entertainment executives to do one substantial thing for 8 women of color. Whitney, you have been one of the best mentors we have ever had in our program. These are the type of people that we set you up with over at Women of Color Unite, and we do it for free and without the trauma.
Amazing.
You have been amazing. Tell me about the project.
It's been a blessing to me. Okay. I'm writing a feature with my mentee. Okay. Do y'all hear this? If you're not in Women of Color Unite and you're on this right now, I don't know what you're doing, because you could be making awesome connections and you could be creating dope art. So I'm writing my first movie, which is wild. It's taken us a while, but it's because it's very imaginative. So I did not go to an HBCU, neither did Miriam. And so what we did was we were like, yo, let's do a movie that is like Spike Lee School Days meets The Craft. And so it's a fictionalized HBCU. And at that HBCU, you have a secret society, because we're both Deltas. And we were like, we wanted to do kind of like a sorority type thing, but we're like, we can't do a sorority, so let's make it a secret society. And it's got a little bit of witchcraft. And the cool thing about it is that this secret society is actually based on a group of people that can trace their lineage back to the first descendants of the Black people that came off of the White Line, which was the first slave ship that reached the coast of Virginia. And so there's a little bit of like lore. It's also like, what does it mean to be American? There is kind of like a little underground railroad education system. And then you got just like the HBCU, school days bop that's really fun. And it's cool. And it's got a little, little dancing, little fun, little comedy. It's a little dark, a little genre. Might be a little, voodoo witchcraft in it too. And maybe some like, I like this conversation of like, there had to be some recognition in like the African ancestry and the indigenous people, right? Like I love, because I've got indigenous blood and African blood, African blood. And like, what was that knowing, right? When those two collided. So I don't know. We're just like exploring some different things. So it's our centers basically. But contemporary.
I just want to say that the interesting thing you just said about the indigenous is that as soon as we are done this pod, I have to finish the pitch. So we've been talking to Cameron Bailey at Toronto International Film Festival. And I want to do a panel that is specifically Black women and Indigenous women, because I think that our histories are very different than other women of color. And so I just want everybody to know, I got a Dr. Jolie Proudfit. Just think of me and the Indigenous community. She got Tantu Cardinal to say yes. Yeah, so I have to write that up. And I just think that it is something that we need to discuss. It needs to be discussed. The relationship, because, and I've always said that the reason that it's called BIPOC, BIPOC, is because our entire economic system is based on the backs of enslaved Africans, built on the land of the indigenous. And all other people of color have benefited from those two systems. So it's something where I just wanted a conversation regarding entertainment and telling our stories with those groups. So yeah, I got to finish.
And the thing is so deep because like, the thing is that it's so deep. I mean, my auntie just sent, my uncle's got the papers, okay? And don't even get into like, because, my people are Cherokee from Oklahoma. and the whole black side. Some of the blacks got their dog registry, and some of them didn't, right? And we could still get ours, but like it's a whole, it gets tricky. It get real tricky. So it's a whole conversation. Um, Very, very interesting. And
It,
something that when I went
well,
to Africa, when I went to Senegal, right, I felt super fulfilled, right? And I felt amazing and I felt this connection. But at the same time, I also felt like only half of me. It was a very weird feeling where I was like, okay, I definitely feel partially, but I was like, I still really don't fully feel like there's still something missing. Um, and I think it's that native indigenous side, and those roots are so strong. Like my great grandma, she got struck by lightning and survived. Um, on my birthday,
Interesting.
oh yes, my grandma survived getting struck by lightning. I haven't told you, Cheryl, this is a crazy story. My husband just took me horseback riding. Why would you take me horseback riding? Anyways, horseback riding, I almost got thrown off of a horse. The horse got spooked by the white girl who started screaming. This is a whole thing. I was like, "Were you trying to kill me?" This white girl tried to kill me, screaming at the horse. Okay, while I was on it, she's like, "Don't pull on the reins." The horse starts bucking. Okay, the horse is getting ready to throw me. This was just 3 weeks ago, and I'm telling you, I clearly have had several ancestors that have ridden horses because between the Holy Spirit and them ancestors, I don't know how I got off that horse without being thrown. And my husband was like, just sat there looking crazy at me. How
Whitney,
about
I do want to,
I,
before we
move
get,
on? Yes,
yeah,
because I'm on a
before we,
whole tangent.
yeah, no, I just wanted to say this. Um, Jolie has after pissing off the indigenous community because she was like, let me just, she has said this on more than one occasion. She's like, the reason that they finally changed the name of the Washington, D.C. football team, she said, let us not be mistaken, was because of BLM, right? And so that is part of the conversation because as you were saying, Whitney, with some people being on the roll, some people not, like Black people, that these are things that we need to discuss within the communities, right? She's like, we now make up 1% of the population, in some places less than that. She's like, we would
Mm-hmm.
have never been able to do it if it weren't for Black Lives Matter. And we have to acknowledge that we can't do it without Black folk. So yeah, it's gonna be a real interesting conversation to have. But
Ooh,
well,
girl,
it's an interesting dichotomy. Like we were taken from our land and they had their land taken from them. So
mm-hmm,
but we both have the same, and I don't want to say like enemy, but we have the same colonizer um,
mm-hmm.
with the opposite scenario.
And then there was a lot of, and there's also a lot of shared ancestry there as well. Because you have to remember
Yes.
also there were a lot of enslaved people that were then sometimes willingly, sometimes not in some places, brought into the tribe as well.
Which is funny because you see the beginning of Sinners where the indigenous people are
Oh,
trying to
they
help,
knew.
but then they're like, you know what? Fuck this shit, I'm out.
They already knew. I'm like, can we spend more time with them? That was
That
interesting.
when people talk about like, are they going to do a Sinners too? And Brian Kugler's already said like, no, that's like a one and done type thing. I'm like, but can we have the story of the indigenous people and the vampires? Because I need that story.
Well, real talk, like Sinners is a series. We
Uh,
needed
uh,
way
uh,
more time with Sinners.
oh, absolutely. I mean, even to the point that like I want everybody's backstory. Like I want
Oh
to
yeah,
know
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
cornbread became cornbread. I want to know like why the indigenous people were so like prepared to do battle with vampires. Hell, I even want to know how the vampire got to be the vampire and whatever. I don't need a whole movie about him. I just need like a blurb.
Definitely a book. I don't know who just wrote that. But you know what? The most powerful thing about Sinners for me is that it showed the world, hopefully, that we are craving original content. We are craving original Black stories. And we got them, okay? We got them.
Well,
We
also
got
that
them.
not just Black people are interested, which, I've been saying for
Mm-hmm.
years. When I lived in Italy, which was like almost 20 years ago now, the most popular show on TV in Italy was Pimp My Ride. And yet when I got home, I keep hearing from people, well, Black doesn't sell foreign. It does.
It
You just
does.
don't want it to.
I mean, you know how many white things I've watched? Do you know how much Korean TV I watch? Do you know how much everything I watch? I'm watching a show on Amazon right now, Cece. It's probably the second Australian royal thing I've watched. We watch everything. We're watching for the characters. We're watching for the world. Like, come on. It's
No, but I mean, like, they're Hollywood is trying
stupid.
to say that our stories don't sell foreign because people can't relate to them. And I was like, half the people in this country can't relate to them, and the other half are like, and that same half just wants to go back to them.
We're
And I
not
just,
listening to them anymore. We look at these same people done. Now look what they have done in how many months? January, February, March, April, May, June. 6 months. Y'all be quiet. I'm not listening to what these people are saying.
and I,
They're reactive.
yeah, and I just want to say about Sinners before we move on to questions is I actually understand why Ryan doesn't want to do anything more. He wants us to sit with that. That thing is so layered that, and I think to a very large extent, it is up to us to do our own homework, right? And so I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree regarding a book because of the research that the research on that movie is just incredible, right? Like I saw the discourse regarding on TikTok, like all of the Latinos who were like,
Mm-hmm.
why wasn't they there? Except that they had been moved out by that point. But that's why he has an empty Delta Tamale stand. It's done on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's so many layers to that. And I think to a very large extent, it's do your own homework to keep us hungry for this information as they try. And I say try to erase it because you can get rid of all the books in the world. Doesn't mean the shit never happened.
Amen.
But let's get to some of these questions. So Bio Baby had a few questions. One that I think is really that I wanted to dive into, which is how do we get beyond those who have failed us?
Listen, I think we have to just worry about our own journey, right? I really do think that sooner or later things always work themselves out the way they are supposed to. We have to stay focused on our own purpose. We have to stay focused on our own goal. We have to worry about our own race. And if I got my eyes on what you're doing, or if I'm worried about why somebody else is over here and they don't need to be over here, I might be missing my opportunity. And sometimes because I am human and I have flesh and all of that, I look at my peers. Like I just saw that uh and it's not that she's not talented and I'm sure well deserving and what have you, who knows? But an assistant, somebody that was an assistant when I was 7, 8 years into my career in a training, she's now the head of a department at Amazon or something. And I'm like, wow, you know? But everybody's journey is not my journey. And grass is, everything comes with a sacrifice. And one of my favorite Bible verses, to whom much is given, much is required. And so I really just have to focus on my own race and That's how I try to get over that because it's in this industry, it's all around.
And Bio Baby had another one I think you've already answered, but she has one that I find really interesting. And she says, why is it difficult to call out systems when they seem to be apparent? I have my own take on it.
Hmm. Why is it difficult to call them out? I mean, because I think because so many people are afraid to do so, and you're the outlier, and it's a lonely place to be, you know, and so you start to feel crazy. People look at you like you crazy.
Yeah,
And
I have had even people like I'm not going to call out my staff. I love my staff, but I have even had people because my superpower has always been able. I can see shit coming before anybody else.
mhm,
And so seeing things come, I remember screaming at the top of my lungs that we need to change DEI to DOK, death
hate it.
speech, right? I've been calling that shit out for years.
It
Change.
sounds like die. I'm like, what is DEI?
And so and because of the bastardization and commodification of it, right? And I think that in a lot of times the Black women and Black men who see some shit about to happen, nobody is listening to us. Nobody is paying attention. People are like, no, it's gonna be fine. And I'm like, and it feels like gaslighting. And I'm like, look, as somebody who
Hated it.
is relatively intelligent, but you're not going to believe when I tell you X, Y, and Z is coming. But what? My intelligence only goes but so far. Like it's a gaslighting. I think that
Mhm,
happens, right? Like we changed
mhm,
PI on our website to Depth of Knowledge years ago because we saw
mhm,
it coming and trying to explain to people why depth of knowledge works better, the fact that what the tenets of DEI actually are built upon, all of that, girl. And so when all those people started getting fired from DEI, I actually had trades reach out to me, right, running Women of Color Unite, and they're like, come, and I was like, no comment. Because I was like, some of y'all have been so fucking problematic. I'm just gonna sit back and just watch,
mhm.
right? Because I fucking warned you 3, 4 years ago, but you didn't want to
It's
listen to me.
I'm trying not to be like in this season. I'm like, Jesus, fix my heart. I don't want to be petty. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really trying to I'm really trying not to be in my petty season. And every once in a while my flesh is getting the best of me where I'm just like, ha ha, you know, a little bit, but um I'm working on it. I'm
Okay, but
working on it.
while you are in your petty season, what is your favorite petty win? Because
Oh
we
wow.
all have one. Don't lie.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, someone who was very close to me, okay, or who I thought was very close to me. This person was a narcissist, okay, and I'm very triggered by this Diddy trial, and not because this person was like Diddy in terms of like the monstrosity of this alleged things that he's done, but like all narcissists are kind of the same in the way that they approach you when they think that you should be doing something. Like this person used to say things to me like, I don't think you're grateful enough. Or like, I don't think you're, you know, like just would say this kind of weird stuff to me and do like some very questionable things. Well, this person like totally threw me under the bus. And then after they threw me under the bus, they looked behind their shoulder and then rolled back over me. Okay. And then, you know, whatever, whatever. So haven't seen this person in about 6.5 years. And I end up going to a screening at an agency, and the screening is about it's a workplace thriller about a Black woman who works in a toxic work environment. So I'm leaving, and she had reached out to me after I wrote the article, and she personally do you know Mindy? Do you know Mindy? Cheryl Mindy Hart, the author?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, she wrote a book about workplace toxic, all this, and so she wrote a film. So I go to her film, and so who is right in front of me as I'm leaving the screening room at the agency? The former colleague. So I had already decided in my head years before how this would go down if I ever ran into her. So I ain't no punk. So I'm like, I ain't gonna act like I don't see your ass. I'ma say hi first. So I'm like, oh hey, what's up? And do you know this heifer turns around, puts her hands on me in front of other people because they know that you know me, and if you don't say hi and give me a warm hello, it's gonna look weird. And I felt so violated and so like yuck that I'm like, oh no, this bitch didn't. So I'm like, okay. And I have to go to the bathroom. This person has to go to the bathroom. I'm not gonna not go to the bathroom. I ain't no punk. Like I'm not gonna inconvenience myself. So as we're in line going to the bathroom, I just casually, because I'm crazy like this, I mumble out, I can't wait till I write my movie. And she looks at me really crazy, like, oh, yeah, you're nuts. And then I go, who's your favorite character? And she looks at me crazy, like, because in the movie, there was this character that was a Black woman, and she was like the boss, and she was like real snaky. And there was all the white people there that were evil. But once you got to the end, you realize the Black woman might have been even more evil than all the white people. So I go, who's your favorite character? And she looks at me like I'm crazy. And she's like, well, why? She's like, the protagonist, Mindy. And she's like, who's your favorite character? And I said, your part. And I walked in the stall and I closed the door, and it was like perfect timing. And by the time I came out from using the bathroom, she left. She left the whole party. She was gone. I ran her right up out of the whole damn party. She's scared. She's
So
scared I'm gonna write the movie.
here's the funniest thing. I know who you're talking about.
Of course you know who I'm talking about. So she's like, the girl done wrote the article. So now she's gonna write the movie? Yep. And you're gonna be
Cheryl's
in
run
it.
people out of things before. It's really entertaining.
Ah, I love it. So that I will always be petty for that one because you know what? I think Black on Black crime, especially Black woman on Black woman crime, it's not right. And I've also come to the place where I'm not gonna bash you publicly on a public platform, but I feel that it is my responsibility, especially when it comes to young Black girls that in a private conversation, if I can warn them to be careful. I'm not going to go into details about your snake behavior, but I'm going to warn them to be careful and not to trust you. That's all. That's my petty. Because I do think that we should prevent harm
Now I was saying I
at
have
all costs.
people after what happened to you. After what happened to you, girl. I'm just gonna say because the way that Whitney is about me, I'm about her. If I ever see that woman, it's on. Like it's okay. But I'm glad you
Well,
raised.
Queen Sheba, I mean, from all I can see, you're still Queen Sheba of BEI for now. But that place is going down like the Titanic.
Yeah, there are some people who I will always be petty against. That person for hurting you, the person who shall not be named. Yeah, there are a few that it's literally on site. Because here's the thing, I actually believe some of these people never had their ass beat on the playground. Like I truly believe that there is something very humbling about getting into a playground, and I plan to be that bitch from the playground. Yeah, some people just need their ass beat. They never had to be on the playground.
I did, but I am going to, produce Bail by Rebels in Exile.
Mm.
Okay, so we only have about 5 minutes left. I just appreciate everybody who always comes by to listen to my friends, Nicci's friends in Hollywood.
Yes,
We
thank you for coming.
we are here for you. And what I mean is for the Black community. I think that, most people know of obviously Sinners and they know, Ryan, and they know of Macro and they know of Juvie, but there are a whole lot of us who actually work in this industry, who love each other, who support each other, and who are there and will get our licks in for each other. And I am just really happy when we can bring them over here to Spottable. But Whitney Davis, do you have any last words?
Wow. My goodness. What do I want to say? One, Cheryl, I am so grateful for our friendship and I love you down, girl. I really will ride for you. You can pick me up at like 2 o'clock and be like, bitch, let's go. And I'm like, where we going? I ain't even gonna ask where we going till I'm in a car. And I'm just be like, can I smoke in the car? And we're gonna go. And if
Yeah, that
wherever
would
we
be
need
me
to
picking
fight,
you up. Whitney, that would be
okay.
me picking you up because I drive. Cheryl will be sitting in the passenger seat.
Listen, as long as I'm back
And you can't
home by the
smoke in the
time,
car.
yes, as long as I'm back home by the time I gotta get up and help get my kids ready for school, I'm down to fight the fight. And I really appreciate you for just out here doing the Lord's work and clearing the path and making a way. Because this is what we have to do. Like this is what we've been called to do. This is what we have to do. And I'm just grateful that I still have the passion, and I feel really fortunate that I'm able to still be that girl, that Kansas girl that still loves to tell stories. And I feel really blessed. And I may not have a lot, but I have all I need. And yeah, I'm really blessed. And I'm grateful that I was able to share with all of you. I hope that it's been inspiring. And I hope that in your own personal lives that you have something to fight for and to leave your mark and to leave your legacy and to make your place better for the next generation. That's all I got.
Well, Whitney, you did that, right? You are you're more than a whistleblower. You're a game changer.
Thanks, sis.
You are. I could sit here and compliment you all goddamn day. So I will just leave it at that. You are a game changer. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on here to tell that story, because I know that even after all this time, sometimes telling these stories can be a little triggering. And I will just say this. If I ever see her, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Wherever you see her, call me so we can just, come back and be like, yeah, just be like, hey.
I'll drive.
Yeah, and I want everybody to know this is part of my tribe. These are my thugs. We will thug it out. We will be gangster all day long because we have to be, to make sure that our stories keep getting told in Hollywood. So thank you, Whitney, for everything that you've ever done, not just for me, not just for Women of Color Unite, but for this entire industry, and especially everybody, Black women.
Yeah.
On that note, Nicci and I would like to thank you all for joining us on this season of the WOCU podcast, How Hollywood Works or Doesn't.
Thank you for rocking with us for the season, truly. We'll be back next season with more stories, more community, and yes, more tea, carefully poured, not splashed, because we're classy. But apparently we're still processing things.
We will see you next season. Take care. Bye!
The Women of Color Unite podcast is hosted by Cheryl L. Bedford and Nicci Freeman, produced by Nwabata Nnani, and edited by Lauren Bonett. The music is by Oh Yeah, featuring Nayuta. Subscribe to the Women of Color Unite podcast to never miss an episode. If you want to submit questions or responses to this episode, you can send them to podcast@woceunite.com. Find the show notes and transcripts for this podcast on our website at woceunite.org, where you can also learn more about Women of Color Unite and sign up to become a member for free and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation. Donations are what enable us to create amazing programs like our #StartWith8 career development program. If you're on social media, you can follow the podcast at WOCU Podcast, and you can follow Women of Color Unite at WOCUnite.org.
Please stay tuned and join us for the next episode of the Women of Color Unite podcast, because we telling it like it is.
We need rebels and troublemakers to stand out, marginalized with voices making us so proud for identity in the industry. We all shout, so many women empowered making their own route. Like
ageism, racism, sexism.
Uncovered, they get together to form a force to prove the one that ain't gotta have a child to be seen as a mother. I'm saying,
all power
to the women of color. Yeah. It's just a salute to Cheryl Bedford, leading activist in the community. She's bridging the gap and bringing all women together to fight for real inclusion amongst all the diversities. Keep going.